The future of medicine is frequency.
The power of sound and vibration and light is so fundamental and foundational to how the human body operates.
Everything in our universe is about frequency. But if we took the frequencies that we know in our known universe, let's measure it across the screen you're looking at right now on the computer. We're not even occupying a hair's breadth of that.
There's an infinite number of frequencies in the music that you're listening to, just as there is with any pop music or classical or anything else. Music moves in and out. You go to a symphony and you're listening to, quite literally, it's harmonized, but you could be listening to thousands of frequencies at once with all those different instruments that are playing at one time. I don't believe there are any bad frequencies. I just believe there are disharmoniant frequencies to that individual at that particular time. Even without intention, you're going to have breakthroughs and you're going to have a remarkable impact on your physiology. I virtually promise you that you are going to come back into your body and have this relative perspective of, I just went somewhere and I don't know where I was, and then I came back.
Welcome to the Brain Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Patrick Porter. Please join us on our mission to better a billion brains. Enjoy the episode and remember to share it with your family and friends.
Hey, BrainTap Nation, welcome back to an episode of the Brain Fitness Podcast. And we have with us a very special guest, someone who's on our app at BrainTap. He has the sessions that are one of the most listened to sessions. It's called In Harmony. And all you have to do is search for any brainwave frequency. We're going to delve deep into this, but he's also doing something called SoFi frequencies. I'm going to have him explain that to us in just a moment so you understand what we're talking about, because everything we do here, of course, is about light, sound, and vibration. But he also, if you see in the background, if you're watching this on video, he has In Harmony. And what we do is something I do every morning, especially when I'm home, because I can't travel with it. Unfortunately, it won't fit in my back pocket. But we have a meditation cushion where we actually, I can sit in it and the frequencies of the sound actually resonate up through my body. And who I'm talking about is Craig Goldberg. So Craig, hey, welcome to the show.
What's happening, Patrick? How are you?
Hey, first of all, tell us a little bit about your background. What got you into doing light, sound, and vibration? I know that within the light bed, we've done some things. You put together something called the cocoon experience as well. You have big beds as well. You've been doing a lot with frequencies. So tell us about your background.
Look, there's so much harmony between what we do, and I'm so honored to be here. I love getting together with you and your family and the BrainTap family, and I love the partnership that we've had over the last, almost 4 years. Shout out to Lynn Fisher for making the introduction and creating the cocoon experience, which is basically the merging of sound, vibration, and light. And what you do and what we do are so harmonious with one another that it's this 1 + 1 = 3 kind of scenario where you have a great technology in BrainTap, great technology in Harmony, and when you bring them together, it just amplifies each other in such a beautiful way. In Harmony is focused on sound and vibration therapy. We are focused on turning music into vibration and then allowing you to both hear and feel that vibratory experience, that music experience at the same time. It's a 3-dimensional, fully immersive sound experience that makes you feel as though you're inside the music. And when you pair that with the BrainTap headset, it's magic unlocks in a very, very amazing way. And I know many of your clients and your customers and your users are already familiar with vibration therapy or vibroacoustic therapy, but this is something that really complements each other. We've been doing this for 8.5 years. We're one of the leaders in the industry from a production, a manufacturing standpoint, distribution standpoint. And I know you have a long history in this industry with many folks that kind of do similar things to us, and I love all of them. And I'm just honored to be a part of the BrainTap network.
Yeah, it's great. Now, if you're watching this on video, of course, we're going to show videos of this. So if you're not watching it on video, please go back to the notes from this podcast. We'll have links to In Harmony. You can see it there. Of course, if you put in BrainTap, he's going to give you a little bit of a special. I'm not sure what that is because we didn't discuss it beforehand, but I'm putting him on the spot now. So,
happy to do it. Absolutely. Yeah. BrainTap works at a discount for sure, and absolutely plug that in. We've been doing that for a long time.
So we can do that. So I know that when we first got together, it was all about the cocoon experience. I got to spend some time with you and Lynn down in San Antonio, and it was kind of a mind-blowing experience for me.
I mean, that was quite a moment, right? Yeah. That was quite a scene. And we can even talk about that because I think it's really relative to folks that are doing the work that we're doing.
Yeah. In that group, actually, they put in a wellness center in their building, and they have the cocoon experience there, so their employees get to come and take a break. So imagine taking a break, not only doing BrainTap, but you get to sit on a sound lounge that basically think of it like you're on a cloud, and the frequencies, like you said, you're in the music. There's no separation between you and what's going on. It's not just coming in through your ears. And we talk about Dr. Emoto, and I was fortunate enough when Dr. Emoto was alive to meet him about 4 times because we brought him out to Hawaii to Quantum University. He's the one who wrote, if you're wondering who's Dr. Emoto, he wrote the book, The Secret Life of Water. Yep. And what he showed was when you project sayings into water, it actually changes the structure, the crystalline structure of water. So, and I've done some podcasts with his group. So if you haven't seen that, you can go to drpatrickporter.com. You can see those podcasts. But one of the things that he showed was during COVID time that COVID actually made water look like a demon. And then they put gratitude over top of it, and it made it look like an angel. And so this water crystals were changing. But imagine our bodies. We're 70 to 80% water, depending upon what book you read, and we're putting these healing frequencies in. So tell me a little bit about when was your first experience with using sound to, basically change the way that people structure their reality? I mean, really, because once you're off of that too, you're getting this lift in neurotransmitter activity like you wouldn't believe, because every cell, most people don't realize that every muscle, every cell of your body actually is like a little chemical factory. And it's making either good chemicals for you or bad chemicals for you. And so if they're in these great environments, it's creating these great chemicals that allow your brain to think better, perform better, respond better, most importantly, sleep better in these days. So tell me a little bit about your first experience.
I mean, you nailed it. First of all, the body is salt water. I think that's really important. So making sure you're getting the right minerals, nutrition is so important to obviously helping the entire body work. Sleep is so important. But we're bringing, when a cell or a human being is brought into a vibration, we come in and out of what's called harmonic resonance. And we know this because we're human beings and we're pattern recognition people, right? We look for those patterns and we just want to be in the flow with what's around us. So if you're presenting yourself with positive frequencies that feel good, your body is going to be presented in positive frequencies and feel good. I don't think COVID felt good to anybody. Everything that happened around that was just a nightmare and a mess and didn't feel good or in alignment. So it makes total sense that Dr. Emoto's team would find that in their newest research. And then you present it with gratitude, which feels great, and love and authenticity and all these high vibrations. It's wonderful. Our technology is just that. It is presenting the body. Think of it as a delivery system for sound, frequency, and vibration to the body. And it complements what you do because it's just the ears for BrainTap, although you can listen to it through speakers as well. But you're listening to it through the BrainTap headset. Now all of a sudden we're amplifying that to every cell in your body. And for me, look, I was traveling the country teaching people about how to live a healthy life. I was introducing them to essential oils, and I was going to all these yoga retreats and conferences, and they all had sound therapists, the acoustic instruments, the bells, the chimes, the gong, the didgeridoo. And I became enamored with what happens when I lay in front of these incredible instruments with these incredible angels and musicians that are playing this music. I'd fall asleep, and I'd wake up 45 minutes to an hour later feeling amazing. And I wanted that feeling on tap. I wanted to be able to push a button and allow my body to go through that process without being coherent, without having to focus on playing an instrument. And then I got introduced to my now business partner, Dominic, and we started to create these products and innovate. And then more importantly, we started making the music, because that's really where the magic between BrainTap and In Harmony comes in. It's with our record label, In Harmony Media. And with the music meditations that we started to create, we started to play around with different frequencies, putting them in different orders, playing with different amplitudes, and figuring out different sequences of sound and vibration that we could present to the body to help it to relax. And I think that's the core of what I want to share as far as In Harmony, is that a body that is chronically in fight or flight is a body that is in survival mode and therefore has a different set of priorities than a body that's in rest and digest or a parasympathetic nervous system response. A body that's in rest and digest is a body that's performing the way that it's so brilliantly designed to perform, maintaining itself and taking care of itself. A body that's stressed and anxious is a body that is in fight or flight, and all stress is not bad. But a body that is in fight or flight has increased cortisol, increased adrenaline, and that body is in survival mode. It has a different set of priorities than maintaining itself and hopefully taking care of itself. So our technology as a whole is really designed to help calm and relax the nervous system, keep you in parasympathetic, allow your body to perform the way it's designed to so beautifully perform. And that harmonization that we have with BrainTap, that ability for you to hear and get the visor and get the Nogier frequencies and the solfeggio frequencies that we have coming through the bed, I think it's one of the reasons why we're one of the most played artists in the BrainTap set, and why I can't go anywhere with you, Doc, and people aren't like, oh, in harmony, I listen to your stuff all the time. It's really, you made me kind of famous, and I like it.
Yeah. Well, I listen to it every morning because most people have heard this story if they followed the podcast, but we were doing a study in Dallas with psilocybin. And what we found was some of the vets that were doing the PTSD study did not want to do the psilocybin. They were scared, even though psilocybin is used to get people off of addiction. You know, there's a lot of miscommunication out there about plant-based medicine. So we said we weren't going to fight that. And I said, you know what, let's measure some brains of some people. And we found out that during the psilocybin trips, there was a region of the brain that lit up big time with gamma, and it just happened to be just right of center in the brain. And every time that happened, they would tell us they had these kind of spiritual experiences. Well, what we know about gamma is that it produces GABA, and GABA is a precursor to DMT. So it's DMT's in every cell. So you don't have to do a psilocybin if you can trigger your own body's psilocybin. So what I did was I took your music and I encoded it to gamma. And those are the sessions in the morning when I want to get my, my experience. And what was amazing was we have a piece of equipment that it's called the Friends Band, and it actually measures EEG. And we actually showed this in Vegas at our event with OHS, or Optimum Health Systems. And I invited them to come there because we want to do something with measuring brainwaves. And they go, you can't get gamma in 11 minutes. And I said, tell you what, put this session on. And we measured her brain, we recorded it. And hopefully for the listeners, I'll find that recording and I'll actually I'll put a link to it down below. But I said, watch, in 7 minutes, you're going to be coherent in gamma, because it takes about 7 minutes for the brain, the two hemispheres, to coalesce and harmonize. I tell people, go to YouTube and look at your metronomes. There's one that's called Synchronizing Metronomes, and a guy has about 300 metronomes and he starts them. Now, metronomes can synchronize in 4 minutes, but the brain, we found the average brain takes about 7 minutes. So we do this little exercise on the front end of most of our first 3 tracks, like the first 3 that we do in a series. And with yours, we have 10 tracks per series, like 11 minutes, the 11-minute version, 22-minute version. We have them up to 66-minute version. And she just had 11 minutes. So, and I had never done an EEG study. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed to see what happens. Well, it blew her mind because at 7 minutes, it was almost like a mushroom effect. The brain, basically the energy in the brain harmonized, the brain lit up, she had this gamma effect, and she said that she's actually felt at that moment that she was, basically the disassociative effect of like a psychedelic. And I said, well, that's because the brain, once you get outside of yourself, once you get outside of your own way, your brain will create those states. We crave them, actually. We want them. And so she showed that at the seminar, and now she's showing it everywhere. Now, every talk she does, she shows, because we have a technology in BrainTap where we actually move brainwaves. She has a technology that actually can record it in real time in research grade ability, and it's only $600. And like your product, it's very inexpensive. I mean, when you look at your In Harmony cushion, sound cushion, I don't know how much that is. What is it?
$6.99.
$6.99. So it's around the same price.
Yeah.
And so it's something that I use, like I said, every morning. That's how I do my meditation. I told you I do about 2 hours on it because I'm crazy. But I have my little ritual that I do, and my dad used to call me Merlin because I would meditate for 3 and 4 hours. But now I don't have to do 3 and 4 hours. I can do it sometimes like this morning I only had 45 minutes, so I had to do a short period of time. But I get up around 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I never use an alarm clock, but when I get up, I just start my day and I say, hey, if I don't take care of myself first, who's going to?
Have to. Morning routine, really important.
Yeah.
Patrick, every time I listen to you, I learn something, and I've already learned 3 or 4 things just sitting here listening. It's just absolutely fantastic, and I appreciate you.
Well, let's break down those solfeggio frequencies a little bit so people understand what's happening. What is, first of all, a solfeggio frequency? Because a lot of people, of course, I know what they are, but a lot of people don't know what we're talking about. What do you mean frequencies? I mean, there's like right frequencies, there's solfeggio frequencies, there's Nogier frequencies.
No.
We're talking about, you encoded your music. Now it's beautiful music that's encoded, but also you put a frequency into it.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that process.
So the easiest way for me to explain so first of all, the music meditations that we create here at In Harmony are broad. I call them broad spectrum frequencies. There's an infinite number of frequencies in the music that you're listening to, just as there is with any pop music or classical or anything else. A frequency, one frequency, bzzz, like I don't know what frequency that was, but whatever it was, it has a waveform to it, and there's a frequency. Music moves in and out. You go to a symphony and you're listening to, quite literally, it's harmonized, but you could be listening to thousands of frequencies at once with all those different instruments that are playing at one time. So we get into a little bit of music theory, and we get into a little bit of harmonic theory as far as how two chords or how a chord matches together. And this is not my specialty. We want to talk to Anthony more specifically about music theory. That's who makes all of our music at In Harmony Media. But we start to get into how different frequencies harmonize, and then what happens when they harmonize, and then how we're presenting them to the body. We chose the solfeggio frequencies. I'm told there are 81 or 82 solfeggio frequencies, but there's a base 9 that we're most familiar with: 174, 285, 396, 417, 528, 639, 741, 852, and 963. And each one of these just have a ton of science and research behind their impact. Now let's talk about how we tune our music meditations to that frequency. I'm sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with the 432 versus 440 conversation when it comes to how music is tuned. A lot of people don't know where that originates from. And I think I have a differing opinion from most. I actually don't think it makes a difference whether it's tuned to 440 or 432. I welcome to hear your opinion on that, Patrick. I don't believe there are any bad frequencies. I just believe there are disharmoniant frequencies to that individual at that particular time. And we can bring you in and out of harmonic resonance with any frequency that we choose. So 432 and 440 comes down to that symphony orchestra and how they tune the orchestra. So if you've ever been to the orchestra, the first chair violinist stands up and plays that long A, and then the entire string organization tunes to that A, and then the clarinet stands up and plays. So that A is 432, or was 432 until the beginning of the 19th century. And then at some point in the early 1900s, they started playing that A one octave higher at 440 hertz. So that entire symphony is just tuned eight notes higher or one octave higher. We do the same thing with our solfeggio frequency music meditations. We tune that entire music meditation to 174 hertz. You still have this influx of going up and down and in and out of different frequencies. You still have an infinite amount of frequencies. However, it's tuned to 174 hertz. It's tuned to 284, 396. And what we found in experimenting and working through all this is that it made incredibly beautiful music that has a very incredible impact on the body. The beauty of our music meditations is that even without intention, and I'll bring this full circle to our first experience, even without intention, you're going to have breakthroughs and you're going to have a remarkable impact on your physiology. It's just a part of our music and how it's distributed and what happens through the BrainTap headset and how we band that together with the brainwave entrainment, isochronic tones, and everything else that we do. However, when you set an intention, and that is the magic of what Lynn did in that basement at that lake house that morning, when we literally, Patrick and I met for the first time, Lynn brought us together. We were basically at a house that was pretty much, I mean, let's call it what it is. They were partying at a lake house for the weekend. And then you got Lynn, Patrick, and me in the basement running sessions with the first ever composed In Harmony Media music meditations and BrainTap. And we got the laptop set up, we got the BrainTap headset going, and the three of us are just down there, and Lynn is dropping people in one after another, and doing a little intake, a little understanding of where they're at, what they want to work on. And we only had 174, 285, 396, and 417. It was the first 4 in 22 minutes that were done. And I think it was just alpha. And remarkable breakthrough after remarkable breakthrough. Each person got up and they were wowed by the sound lounge, the BrainTap, the merging of the music, and then the integration work that Lynn was doing after was to reflect upon what came up for them in that session. it's a great lesson for any of the practitioners. And I know you have thousands of practitioners around the world. It was a great lesson for, yeah, you can put somebody in, in your waiting room with a BrainTap and they're going to have a great experience, but the hands-on application to intake and integration, it changed everything for me on the impact of these technologies by themselves and together. And I knew right then and there, and this is 4 or 5 years ago, I knew we were onto something, and I'm really excited about it. We got more music meditations coming to BrainTap too, by the way.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and hopefully we'll have those up on there. We'll share some links in the show notes so you can go listen to some of these things he's talking about, because now in our app we can actually direct you directly to those sessions. Just so everybody understands, the controversy between 440 and 432 is that they claim that Germany, or Hitler, decided to change to 440 because it irritates the nervous system. So when you think about, when somebody says, why does 5G irritate some people? It irritates everybody, I can tell you that, because we can measure people. It's just some people have a greater tolerance. We call it, they have a greater threshold for discomfort. So they don't, it doesn't bother them as much. But I've never seen one person that didn't measure under a 5G tower that it didn't have a effect. Just like flying in an airplane, it's going to affect your nervous system because you're really flying across frequencies of light, sound, and vibration when you're flying in an airplane. Everything in our universe is made of light, sound, and vibration. But think of your cells, they're not just their balls of energy, they are listening to everything around them, and they're interpreting everything around them. And in 2003, when they said, hey, we mapped the human genome, they said but they didn't map the human genome, did they? They only mapped 1% of it, and they said the rest was junk DNA. But what they realized in 2018, which was kind of incredible, was that in 2018 they finally had equipment fast enough to figure out that those genes were changing. They were switches. So think of them like turning on switches and lights and things, interpretations from your environment, and they were changing at an average of every 40 seconds. So that means every gene pair, your DNA is 10 billion miles of crystalline structure weaved throughout our body, and it's listening to everything. So that means not only, when you're out in nature walking and you hear the birds and you hear the river and you get relaxed, well, that's because our body loves those things, and nature itself has a frequency. The earth has a frequency, right? If we go near the water, the base frequency of water is 10 hertz, but and we go to the mountains, it's 7.8 hertz. These are all what we call brain frequencies because our brain's used to experiencing them. These are frequencies that they know. Some people call them celestial music, because when Mozart, they said, how did Mozart, who's deaf in one ear, how did he create these symphonies? He said he didn't create them. He basically listened to them and recorded them. He went to the celestial realm, and this is what blows people's mind, is that in deep meditation, in these deep spiritual experiences, people hear the music of the spheres, because now they know there is communication between our sun and our planets. Communication like we're talking right now. They have a communication. Our cells are communicating. We're communicating with our environment. And there's worlds within worlds within worlds that we're communicating with, and it's all based on frequency, light, sound, and vibration. And they all play off one another, because in physics we need 3 vectors, right? Light, sound, vibration. So those 3 vectors create space-time. This is our Earth, our reality, what we're seeing, perceiving. And that's why the mystics say this is Maya, this is an illusion. Because, if you could be feeling badly and you put on one of these solfeggio frequencies, let's say one of these sessions, let's say you're going to listen to 528 and you're going to feel pure love, because that's the frequency. That's because our body, when we're in that state, it resonates to that frequency. So we can either create it from inside ourselves, like when we think of somebody we really love or something we really love to do, our body will start to team with that energy and vibrate. But we can also present it in our environment. Then our body matches that environment, just like those metronomes we were talking about, just like those hemispheres of the brain we were talking about. Now we're doing it with music. So what they found, with Hitler, unfortunately, is he could broadcast this 440 music and irritate people. So I don't know why America, because most countries use 432, but America decided to use 440 as well. And they actually tune all the instruments in the orchestra to that too. You know, unless you get a tuning, you can go to the music store and say, I want a 432 tuning, you know, device as
We
well.
tune our music to 432.
Yeah.
Look, you brought up there's so many interesting aspects. So what you talked about at a cellular level, as far as our cells are constantly listening, I talk about at a nervous system level, because we as human beings, our nervous system is constantly evaluating the world around us. How do we perceive that reality around us? We perceive that reality through our five senses: sight, hearing, touch, smell, taste, right? And those are really just electrical signals that are being sent to the brain, that your supercomputer in between your ears is just processing that and then giving you a relative perception of what's happening around you. And that nervous system is constantly looking for threats. I call it relaxation from the outside in, because that nervous system is always looking for negativity. It's always looking for something that's threatening you. And guess what? If you're always looking for negativity, you're going to find it. So you have to combat that and work through it. It's one of the reasons why I love the music meditations that you create in BrainTap. I love the messaging that you have, Dr. Positivity. And I love what you've been doing to retrain what the brain is hearing every single day. It's like 60,000 thoughts a day, 90% of which are repeating themselves, most of which are negative, unless you're actually actively training against that. The vibrations that In Harmony technology complements to BrainTap now helps to entrain the physical body, to break the patterns in the physical body. And it's a strong vibration. If you've never been on an In Harmony Vibroacoustic table, it is more powerful than most of the ones that are out there. Not all, but most. We like a high vibrational field, because the higher the vibration, even though it might not be necessary, and I don't disagree with that, the higher the vibration, you unlock more and more physiological benefits, to a point where our amplifiers go 0 to 11. I do most of my sessions at a 4. I don't recommend going higher than that, but if you have more body mass, if you're a larger human, you're going to want more. I work with linebackers in the NFL. They're usually at a 6 or a 7. All right, 350 pounds, 6'4". These are big guys, big humans. They need more vibration. So you want to unlock that physiological benefit by increasing the vibration. Even at a 4, you're going to find ours are more powerful than most on the market, for good reason.
Right. Also, another side benefit, just so people understand, is that Al Carter, who wrote the book about rebounding, if you've ever seen the little rebounders, he said that that babies, when they're born, should have a sticker on them that said "shake well before opening," because our cell, we have something called the lymphatic system, right? It doesn't have a heart. It doesn't have a circulatory program. The only way that it moves is through vibration, movement, bouncing, breathing, breath work, those kind of things. So when you're laying on that bed, we know that you're going to have a neurological benefit, because the lymph system activates. And, you know, and some people will fall asleep even though they're vibrating away, which is fine too. You can fall asleep while you're doing these things and have a deep level of relaxation. I know.
I'm glad you brought up sleep.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me if you agree with this, because I'm walking around telling everybody this all the time. Sleep and meditation is nothing more than a conscious perception of a slower brainwave state.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, in usually sleep is longer than a meditation, obviously, but both of them are going to build. Like we tell people, 20 minutes of BrainTap is equivalent to 4 hours of sleep, because of the brainwave activity that happens. You know, if somebody's getting good sleep, then they're going to have those lucid moments before they wake up, and hopefully problem solve. Like you read about these inventors, you know, like Tesla and Edison and, you know, Da Vinci and all these people, they talk about their dream states as being laboratories for their mind. And a lot of people look at when you're really in a deep meditation, your body, I always tell people that the difference is that your body's asleep and your mind's awake. And during sleep, usually they're both asleep. You know, you go into this unconscious state. But if you get enough sleep cycles, you'll get into that lucid dreaming and you'll wake up in your dreams. And, you know, I kiddingly tell people, but I believe it's true, is that when you start living your dreams, you don't have to dream as much, because this world becomes your dream. And you start to activate. We have to keep our neurotransmitters active, you know, and if we don't, we use them up during the day. So when we did the studies with taking that 20-minute break, I mean, if like the sound lounge and doing things like that, when we're talking about doing it at, you know, in the middle of the day, that 20 minutes they spend is going to recharge them like they won't believe. I mean,
it's the hack. It's a biohack, right? So yes, could you simply sit down underneath a tree, or could you sit down on your couch and take a 20-minute power nap? Absolutely. The question for me then becomes how much value you're getting out. How much more value could you get out of that 20 minutes? And using a BrainTap and a sound lounge for that 22-minute siesta that you're taking, it amplifies the reaction that your body is having. It amplifies the impact of that rest period. And I tell people also, your downtime is as important as your uptime. We need to rest. We need to relax. Meditation over the course of the day, sleep at night. It's the single greatest thing that you can do for your own longevity and for your own brain capacity, for your own, it's one of the single best things that you can do as a biohack. We were just at the Biohacker Expo, right? It's the single greatest thing is sleep. And so many people have problems falling asleep, staying asleep, or getting value out of their sleep. And that's because of how stimulating the world around us can be. It's because of how conditioned your brain is to stay in that beta brainwave without moving into alpha, theta, delta, up into gamma, so that it can do the things that it needs to do when it's in these other brainwave states. And I've heard you talk a lot about this, Patrick, which I absolutely love. And I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, when people get stuck in sympathetic drive, they get stuck in that high beta brain, or they get stuck in delta. A lot of people are running around in delta, but they're struggling to stay awake.
So many brains that we scan on the neural check are in delta, even when their eyes are open and they're taking. I mean, it's remarkable.
And I love it because they go, and some of them are taking SSRIs and they're doing serotonin uptake inhibitors. I'm going, you don't need serotonin. You need to flush it out, because our body, everything about our body is about flow. So you think of even brainwaves, it's about flow. It's not one brainwave is more important than any other. I mean, if it's time, like you're talking about that linebacker, I wouldn't want that linebacker playing in their sport in a low alpha theta brainwave. They wouldn't be very, but if they had optimized their brainwave, like 45% beta, 30% alpha, 20% theta, now they can intuitively, they can be creative, they have the ability to have the aggression they might need to do that, because that only happens in beta. But if you stay in that too long, this is where PTSD comes in. So people get stuck in these brainwave states, and when they use like the sound lounger, or like I use the sound cushion at home, we have the sound loungers here. And what happens is when they unlock the nervous system, there's something called the innate intelligence. Our body knows what to do with that music. That's the difference between these frequencies. Our body knows them. It doesn't. You don't have to know how you know, but the body knows them and says, hey, I like that feeling, and then it knows how to respond to that feeling. Unlike getting a 60 hit with a EMF that's 50 million pulses per second, that frequency is so high frequency that nothing on Earth has ever experienced that in this universe. I mean, obviously it's on the spectrum of frequencies, but it's not in this universe. Now they introduced.
It's not naturally occurring for sure.
Yeah, it's not naturally occurring. So you have this synthetic pulse. Now the cells, remember, they're listening to everything. Now they're trying to figure out, what is this 50 million pulses per second telling me to do? It's very different than having 532 or 432 or all the other frequencies that we use in the music.
I tell. This is what I like to say. I like to say, because especially when we come from the holistic field where everything is adaptogenic, I think music and frequencies are adaptogenic. And people ask us a lot, like, hey, let's talk about the specific frequencies and their impact on your physiology. And that's the formal body of research called Vibroacoustic therapy, which I'm well versed in and certified in. And I've dove into the science. We share our scientific advisory board. I mean, we're doing a bunch of science and research here at In Harmony, obviously along with BrainTap as well. We have sound lounges going into Seminole College. We have sound lounges coming to your lab. There's a lot that we're going to be doing from a science and research perspective over the next few years and months. And what we're going to find, and we're going to look at sound and vibrations impact on these neurotransmitters. We're going to look at its impact on digestion and brain function. And I mean, I am so excited between the work that we're doing. We got a lot of podcasts coming up, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, people don't realize Tesla said it a long time ago, right? The future of medicine is frequency.
Yeah.
So what is the frequency? Everything in our universe is about frequency. But if we took the frequencies that we know in our known universe and we just said, let's measure it across the screen you're looking at right now on the computer, we're not even occupying a hair's breadth of that. So what are all those other frequencies doing? How are we interacting with them? What's going on? How do we harmonize those? And people, if they're really in tune, or even if they just remember back, you've met people before and you met them and you said, I just vibe with that person, right? You get this vibe, or I don't vibe with this person. That's because our body knows. And so when you get into these states of consciousness and you start to open your mind, what I know happens, and it's going to be exciting to show in the research, we've shown some of it, but what we see is that the energy of our system opens up. We get fed energy, ATP, at the cellular level just by listening to music. So we're feeding ourselves. So it's not just when somebody says, some people will say that I just need to listen to this music because their body craves this music, right? Because they know that the cells want that music. The cells, they're doing the happy dance, if you will. They're doing that. So tell us a little bit about some experiences you've had, because I know you've been around the planet. You have an RV. You've been to Burning Man. I've never been to Burning Man. Tell me a little bit about what happens when people do this when they're exploring other dimensions.
I mean, look, you mentioned, first of all, I love that you use the word innate intelligence, because that to me talks more to the fabric of the universe and the unified field that we're constantly tapping into and pulling from. And we've had more than our fair share of consciousness conversations and explorative sessions. And look, the power of sound and vibration and light is so fundamental and foundational to how the human body operates. And I think what we lose sight of in this human experience, and I happen to agree that this whole thing is simply a perception of our reality and is probably not real. I don't know what level that looks like or what that means, but we can manipulate it so much. Yes, with exogenous substances, and there's definitely ways that we can manipulate the reality around us. We can see that. But we can also do it with sound, light, and vibration. And really, a BrainTap on a sound lounge, listening to 963, for example, in gamma, I virtually promise you that you're going to have an out-of-body experience. I virtually promise you that you are going to come back into your body and have this relative perspective of, I just went somewhere and I don't know where I was, and then I came back. And the visuals that go along with it, even though there are no visuals because your eyes are closed and you're looking at this light, and that's all perception of what's happening in your brain. So yeah, I'm a 12-year burner. We've been going since 2012. I love consciousness exploration. I had my first psilocybin experience when I was 16. I'm 45. Been smoking cannabis since I'm 13. I've done a lot to explore altered states of consciousness, and it's one of the things that gets me so excited about what's happening now in my role now, and the science and the research that we're doing, focused on obviously sound, vibration, and light. But the impact on our physiology is so fundamental that if you're not managing how your brain and body are perceiving sound, light, and frequency, that means you're simply coming into and out of that harmonic resonance that we talked about with 5G, Wi-Fi, all of the different vibrations that we are presented with over the course of the day. All this is, for me, is a conscious trigger for me to say, I'm going to start addressing and presenting my body with sound, light, and frequency in sequences that is going to help my body perform at its best, versus making my body work harder to perform at its best, maybe even fleeting and not able to perform at its best. And when I start people on a protocol with BrainTap and the Sound Lounge or the cushion, within days, we can see a difference. Within one session, we can see a difference in the HRV and the neural check. But within days, we start to see a very palpable difference in how that body and that person is performing. Decreases and increases in neural activity, decreases in brain fog, clearer thinking, better vocabulary. All of the aspects of that person's body begin to change and shift. And all we're doing is presenting them with sound, light, and frequency in a particular sequence that's helping their brain to be reconditioned to operate the way it was so brilliantly and naturally designed to operate. Because for years, we're being conditioned and pulled out of that natural rhythm. We need to bring us back into that natural rhythm. It's really like magic to watch, like magic.
Yeah. Well, even in 1994, when I wrote the book Awaken the Genius, the first chapter talked about the biggest deterrent, the biggest block to our awakening consciousness is fear. And look what happened to us over the last few years. Fear is that's the soup of the day, right? I mean, you turn on the news, they're going to try to scare the heck out of you. They're going to tell you all the fear. And you talked about it, about how our brain, we are the benefactors of our genetics, our ancestors made it. I mean, they were paranoid. They didn't die. They didn't get eaten by the lion. They didn't fall off the cliff. But now we're in a stage where we don't have to worry about those things anymore. We're at a very critical stage where we need to look at, like in Maslow's law of hierarchy of needs, we no longer, like 8 of those don't even matter anymore, really.
Totally.
I mean, if you're functioning in most realities, we have a whole nother set. Now, we call it first world problems here when Cynthia says she can't get her iPhone to work right. That's the big...
The internet's working, not working. What's going on?
Right. And this is what I tell people too, because we're going to wrap up this podcast here real soon. I know we could keep talking because we have some evenings
forever.
up till way late in the night,
Totally.
because we can keep going and going and going. But I always tell people now, a great analogy came to me, because at the office they'll say, the internet's down. And I start laughing and they go, what do you mean? I said, the internet's never down. It's your connection to the internet that's down. So think of these frequencies, just so people can kind of put it in perspective. These frequencies are all around us. They're available to us. I mean, imagine going back 500 years ago. You would have to be royalty to hear a symphony, right? And you get to go and sit in the symphony, and you have to get all dressed up, and you have to go in there. Now I can sit in my underwear if I want in my bedroom, turn on my iPhone, and listen to the Boston Pops, right? I don't have to do anything. I mean, and it's beautiful music. Our cell phones have so much technology in it. So now you have a technology in your music, which is why I love it. I love the fact that you're presenting more music to us, because BrainTap users are loving it. And they're not just loving it for themselves. Our clinics are loving it, because when they're doing therapy sessions that might take an hour, like a lot of dentists are now using your music because they're doing hour-long procedures. They can put the BrainTap on the people. They now have an hour's worth of just zoning out. Like you said, they're not there. Let us work on your body while your mind goes on this mind journey.
And why not?
Yeah, and so, I mean, these are beautiful things that we have. Today it's really the best time to be alive, but the problem is, in order to have the best times to be alive, in order to say it's the best times to be alive, we need to compare it to like the worst times to be alive, because that comparison has to be there, or the brain doesn't know how to discern upon that in this world of duality that we have. But we have to focus on the positive, because, there's a lot of bad stuff going on. The worst thing that could happen is Rosie O'Donnell's now leaving the country because we have a new president. I thought, I clapped and applauded. I'm like, what an idiot. I mean, to think that one man runs this whole country is crazy. I don't even run my own company myself. There's no way I can do it. I can make some decisions, but I have to rely on a lot of other people. The same is true with your body. We have to recruit the cells, systems, organs, nervous system. We have to recruit all that to build capacity so we can handle our daily life experience. And what you're talking about is building capacity for our nervous system to then return back. And I always tell people, it's like Einstein said, you can't solve a problem on the same level as created. You have to go to a solution state, return with the solution in mind. This is putting people into a solution state, where the other than conscious, this beautiful part of our mind that expands into infinite possibility, takes all probable futures, like a quantum computer, which we do have, it's called the human brain, 100 billion neural processor, and then puts it back together. Now, as you learn to interpret and use that computer, you make better decisions. Like you said, the people are coming back, they're speaking better, they're communicating better, they're better relationships. All these things are happening because now they're assembling their coherence with the field. So imagine what could happen if we had 1 billion people doing that, Craig. All laying on sound lounges every morning, every day around 2 o'clock, going to bed. What would happen to this planet? I mean, tell me a little bit about what you're thinking there, and then as we wrap up this podcast.
Look, I think too many people are walking around stressed and anxious, chronically stuck in a sympathetic nervous system response. And you're right, we have access. It's a brilliant and beautiful time for us to be alive. I can't even when I think back to me as a kid and what we had access to compared to what we have access to now. Like, we weren't going on retreats to Costa Rica. I never remember my parents being like, "Hey, we're going on a trip. Have fun with grandma and grandpa. We're going on a retreat to Costa Rica." It just wasn't even part of this reality. It just wasn't something that people did. I don't think it was something that people needed either. I think today we have so much overstimulation that we need to take ourselves out of the environments that we're in every single day so that our body can have that perspective and that rest. It's a magical time to be alive. I'm honored to be here with you. Thank you for having me. I want to come back for part 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's turn a camera on and start recording one of these nights we're up late chatting and hanging out. That was quite a drop in with Cynthia and the family.
That was good. Well, so tell us a little bit, because some people won't be watching the video, might not go to the notes. How can people get a hold of you, and where can they find out more about In Harmony?
I am one of the easiest people to find on the internet. Simply search In Harmony, one word, no space, capital H, lowercase I if you want, but just search In Harmony in Google or any search engine and we'll come up. We're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, I mean, you name it. We've had a 4-year partnership with BrainTap. Most importantly, search us inside the BrainTap app, In Harmony, no space, and you'll find 150 music meditations as of this recording, and we've got another 10 that are going, which will obviously be brought out and rolled out in a multiple of different brainwave states as well. So honored to be here, a pleasure. If anybody has any questions, my phone number is at the top of my website. You can call me anytime. I'd be happy to talk with you about the power of sound, light, and vibration. And thank you for having me.
Now, if you're a BrainTap user, you can just type in alpha, theta, gamma, whatever brainwave you want to search, SMR, and then you'll see in the series, you'll see all the different lengths of time. So you can pick out, hey, do I have 11 minutes? Do I have 22 minutes? Do I have 33 minutes? And we did them all in those what we call divine numbers, because it fits in with the solfeggio frequencies and things like that. So your body and brain will love them. Like I said, I listen to at least 1, maybe 2 of those sessions every day myself. Besides listening to others, I probably do too much, but that's my job.
I don't think there is too much. I don't think there is too much.
Right. I don't think there is too much. I told Cynthia, I said, I need 36 hours in a day just so I can do all the recording and all the editing and everything that I want to do, because I'm falling behind of all I have all these notes of things. She goes, when are you ever going to have time to do all that work? I said, I still feel like it's my first day of work.
You're
back
exactly
in,
where you're
like
supposed
in
to be,
1986.
Patrick.
Yeah. So I appreciate you being here, Craig. The time flew by. Hopefully everyone else got as much as I did out of this, and they'll learn a little bit more about why frequencies such as solfeggio frequencies are so important, and why we have them on the BrainTap app. And when we encode them with the light frequencies that match up with those solfeggio frequencies, it's made magic happen. Our users are loving it because they're listening, right? And our average listener listens 28 times a month. And when you're one of the most listened to pieces of music that we have, that's pretty powerful. So we're gonna continue to learn and grow together, and I love the fact you're creating new music. So if you're just new to BrainTap, you can go to braintap.com. You can download our free 14-day trial. You don't get charged anything at all. You can listen to all the music you want, at least 5 a day, I guess is what it is on your free trial. And then if you don't like it, just cancel it before the 14th day. You will not be charged. So the worst thing that can happen is because you didn't try it. The experiment on your own. If you have a HRV, like even an Apple Watch or BioStrap or a Ring, anything like that, you can measure your HRV pre and post. And we've seen some magic happen with that. Of course, if you have the NeuroCheck, in one of our offices, you'll see a big change in your nervous system. So give it a shot and see what you want to do. So remember, we're on a mission to better 1 billion brains. We love having Craig and In Harmony on that journey with us to help people, because the brain isn't just in your head. Your brain is in every cell of your body through the nervous system, the heart, and the digestive system. So we want to have the whole body, the whole person really engaged in really transforming what we call physical reality, because this is all just light, sound, and vibration. So let's all move together. Let's better a billion brains. And if you're listening this far in the podcast, it's your brain we're talking to. So let's take action. Let's make that knowledge power, because knowledge unapplied is nothing. Knowledge applied is power. And we want to make you a powerful person for good in your life and the lives of your loved ones. So thanks again for joining us on the journey of the Brain Fitness Podcast. Join us again for when we bring another exciting guest like Craig here, who's exploring sound vibration, and he's always out there on the cutting edge doing things, exploring and experimenting on his own body. Now we're going to get him into the research lab so we can show how it happens with other people.
Document this stuff.
Yes,
I'm in.
Let's document it. So thank you again, Craig, for being part of the experience. And listeners, please like and share this podcast. If you found any value in it at all, please share it with your family and friends. Let them know that they can unlock their nervous system. They can have more joy, more love, more happiness, more grace, more capacity in their life to handle their life and get the things that they want in their life, because we're destined for greatness. We just have to unlock that greatness from within us. It doesn't happen around us. So again, this is Dr. Patrick Porter, Brain Fitness Podcast, signing off for now. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on our mission to better a billion brains. Follow at Dr. Patrick Porter on social media for updates, and remember to practice brain fitness every day.